Sadiq Khan and the Labour left are attempting to force Keir Starmer to take 100,000 Gazan refugees into the United Kingdom. We've already seen a small number of seriously ill children brought 100 dependents. They're supposed to be parents or guardians, but they brought 100 dependents. We've also seen the first set of 34 students who've been given student visas to the United Kingdom. But this video is about how there is now a major move to bring a huge number of Gazans to Britain. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Well, the left are angry with me after the Trump dinner and they're attempting to criminally prosecute me. Please do donate below and we're going to beat them. Watch me. Okay, so as you know, Keir Starmer disagreed with Donald Trump when Donald Trump was on his state visit about the fact that Britain is recognising a Palestinian state. Now, I get extremely annoyed about this simply because we've already recognised a Palestinian state. That state is called Jordan. And when people talk about the two-state solution, always remember Palestine, as ruled by the British, was split not in half, it was kind of 2/3, 1/3, a small area given to the Jews and a large area given to the Palestinians. I personally think that's a fairly equitable settlement. I'm not a massive Zionist, nor am I a massive supporter of Palestinians either, but I honestly think that the sensible thing is for everybody to live in their own areas now, rather than causing trouble. Now, as you know, there has been a false claim by the United Nations that there's been a genocide. Actually, the problem that's happening in Gaza is one of overpopulation. At 2.1 million, it is the most overpopulated place on earth. And of course, that is now significantly worse as a result of the Israeli bombings. Now, this video isn't about getting into the whole details of the 7th of October, about the tunnels or anything like that. It's the way that now a Palestinian state is a step towards creating a refugee problem in the United Kingdom. And the way the Labour left, people like Sadiq Khan, people who've left the Labour Party, like Jeremy Corbyn and Zana Sultana, or whatever her name is, these people are now wanting to bring all of these people to Britain. And we've seen the trickle, haven't we? Now, I'm going to tell you, first of all, that pressure is on Keir Starmer to set up a refugee programme, and that is, as usual, the usual suspect. But let me tell you what Keir Starmer has done already. He says, and we know he's a liar when it comes to immigration, that he's going to be tightening up all these loopholes to stop people coming. Well, first of all, there is the issue with the children that have come to Britain. Now, I will tell you, I have no problem with sick children being treated in the United Kingdom. I'd rather we treated our sick children first. But to be fair, with facilities like Great Ormond Street, British children generally, when it comes to healthcare, are pretty well off. But of course, the problem is 10 children come to the UK, 100 dependents come with them. We've now seen, of course, with the 34 students who are coming from Gaza. And I think that that is just the trickle that's going to start moving towards this 100,000 target. And I think what they're going to do in order to get them over is this. Now, remember, with the Afghan resettlement scheme, it's a slightly confusing situation to do with the European Convention on Human Rights. But forget for a second the whole situation with the programme itself, with the data leak itself. The key issue was this, that when you deal with the British government, or you can argue that the British government has violated your human rights anywhere in the world, you now have a right to come to the United Kingdom. Now, what has been also argued at the same time as this 100,000 people have been bandied around, also the issue with the F-35 fighters. What on earth are you talking about? Well, because a small number of bolts made in Lancashire go to the F-35 fighter and the Israelis use that fighter, it is now possible to claim that Britain is offering military aid for what the UN call a genocide. And if Britain is giving military aid to what the UN calls a genocide, then you would have the right, presumably, if the Afghan settlement scheme were to be rolled out across the whole judicial system, you would have the right as a Gazan to claim asylum in the United Kingdom. You would say, just like the Afghans said, well, the British government are my oppressors. Remember, the UN have already said there is a genocide in Gaza. Therefore, they're now going to be able to claim that right in the UK. Now, I've warned on this channel on multiple occasions of the enormous danger of allowing anybody who has had any dealings with the British government to claim under the Human Rights Act that they should be allowed to come to the United Kingdom. But that is the position. That is what we have created. And I believe that it is incredibly dangerous and requires legislative change. Now, where is Keir Starmer up to on all of this? Well, look, what he's going to say is this video is a conspiracy theory. Maybe it is. But actually, that creep starts to happen. Remember when one Gazan managed to enter the UK under the Ukrainian resettlement scheme because they said that it breached their human rights for a Ukrainian to be treated different to a Gazan? Then we get the children with all their dependents. Then we get the students. Then we get the claims of genocide. Then we'll get all the legal cases in the United Kingdom to try and push this through. And what Keir Starmer will do is what Keir Starmer always does. He will pretend that he is attempting to take action whilst allowing Richard Hermer, to do what he does. And what he does is to ensure that the legal framework is right, so that the police, so that the government, so that Parliament, so the Conservatives, Reform, Advance UK, whoever, aren't able to stop these people coming to Britain. Now, we have complained in the past about people coming who are backward. And I stand by that problem. But the people of Gaza have been radicalised. No independent media, no independent judicial oversight, aid stolen en masse, political opponents being thrown off buildings, gay people being executed. There are major problems in Gaza, and I honestly believe that if we bring people to the UK, they will be a significant problem in the UK. I'm not sure that I agree with what Israel did in terms of attacking Doha, but I have to say it is incredibly frustrating to have Hamas T's wandering around in the Middle East. And obviously Qatar argues they have to have them, they have to go somewhere and they have to negotiate somewhere, which may be a reasonable point by Qatar. But can you imagine if we end up in the position that we're already in with the Muslim Brotherhood, where London is the centre of their operation, where people, Algerian T's that were attacking France, their principal base was in London. And in fact, we are now getting a reputation around the world, particularly in Islamic countries, of being a danger to the national security of those Islamic countries. They know full well that one of the problems with Islam, because it doesn't have a central administration, a grand mufti, a chief imam, whatever it is, they know that there are people who are extremists within that faith, and therefore they keep a lid on it. We do not do that in Britain. And so if we were to get 100,000 Gazans in Britain, I tell you, that would cause a significant problem and would be a major threat, not only to our national security, yours and mine, but also a threat to other countries as well. Because, you know, at the end of the day, if you look at Osama bin Laden, yes, he fought the Soviet Union. Yes, he liberated Afghanistan. But the minute that the Soviet Union was defeated, he turned his attention to the United States of America. It was very foolish on the part of the CIA to believe that Osama bin Laden was their friend. I honestly think that we should never give succor to these extremists, whether they're on our side for 10 minutes or not. That is a major problem for this country, and I'm worried about it. 100,000 people, we shouldn't allow them in Britain. Until next time, please donate to the Patriot Fund. I may well need it. Until next time, goodbye.